Welcome friends to the class 22. In the previous video, we have discussed about different types of mortgage. Now, in this video, we will discuss a very important concept for a banking industry, for you as a credit manager or a sales manager. That is the property identification. The concept of property identification states that the property should be physically identified at the site. One should be able to locate the property at site which is proposed as security to the bank. By property, I mean the land and building, right? So, what is this concept? How the property is identified? Let us learn through this video. One thing I must clear to you that the property identification thing is done by the valuation team or the technical team, which are technically qualified people. So as a normal non-technical guys, as a credit manager or a normal layman, we need to just understand the process. We need to just understand the concept only. We need not to dive into the full details of actual things that are done by these technical persons at site, right? So I will touch base on the basic concept thing of property identification in this video. So the class 22 is about the property identification. So by property identification, I mean we should be able to locate the property physically from its address proof. We should be able to locate the property physically from its address proof. Let me give you an example. So assume you are having some post coming from some guy, you are having some Amazon parcel coming for you, and you have your address on your government KYC document. For example, in India it is Aadhaar card, is mentioned that your home is located in area Shastri Nagar, Ludhiana. Now if a postman need to deliver you any letter or any parcel, then how will he locate where you actually live in Shastri Nagar? Where you actually live in Shastri Nagar, because the Shastri Nagar area could be so large. It may have different streets, different areas, different landmarks. So he will not be able to locate your house from reading your Aadhaar card only, right? So that means your house, your address is not locatable, not traceable from your address proof, right? So this is a critical concern. Your address proof should be such that if one reads the Aadhaar card address, then he should be physically able to reach at your exact address by just reading the address on your Aadhaar card, right? That is the correct way of presenting your address in your government documents. And similarly for the properties, the banks should be able to physically reach at the exact location of the property by reading the address proof of the property. Now you will ask, sir, what is the address proof of the property? So friends, the title deed of the property, the main ownership document of the property is the only and the main and the sole address proof of the property. The title deed of the property is the main address proof of the property, and in the title deed or the ownership document, proper location of the property, like in your Aadhaar card, proper location of the property should be mentioned, and by reading the location of the property from the title deed, you should be able to physically reach at the site from by reading this address, right? So this is the concept of property identification, that we can identify the property physical at site. So question is, why is that concept important? I will give you one more example. In one of the case that I have seen in my life, not done by me, in other department of my bank, in one of the case, the customer proposed a self-occupied residential property for as a security to the bank. Self-occupied residential property was proposed for mortgage, right? The property was having value of rupees 16 crores. property was having value of rupees 16 crores. This is an actual case. Property was having value of 16 crores, and the bank bases the comfort on that residential property. I have already told you that self-occupied residential property is the most acceptable security type for the banks. So they decided to give him rupees 20 crores worth of loan. 20 crore loan was given to the borrower basis that property, and to create the security, borrower had submitted the title deeds to the bank for creating equitable mortgage, right? So the mistake that the bank did, they did not properly followed the identification concept of the property. They just accepted the title deeds, they mortgaged the property, they did the valuations to the valuer. The borrower showed the property at site. The valuer did the valuation, never followed the identification concept. Property was mortgaged and the loan was given. Later on, after 6 months, the borrower defaulted in the loan. The borrower did default in the loan, and the bank decided to take possession of the property and sell the property in the market, right? So when they went to the borrower's house to take the possession of the property, the borrower said to them that this is not the property that is mortgaged by you. The bank was totally surprised by listening to this. The bank said, this is the property we did valuation for. This is the property for which you have submitted the title documents to us. Borrower said, see carefully. The title documents that I have submitted to you does not belong to this property. These title documents are related to a property which is located adjoining to a cremation ground. Adjoining to a cremation ground. And you know very well, guys, if a property is located adjoining to a cremation ground, nobody is too much interested to buy such kind of properties, right? For superstitious reason whatsoever, nobody is interested to buy that. So bank was totally surprised, and it was actually the fact. Those title deeds, when the proper identification was done after the court's order, the property was located actually near adjoining to the cremation ground, and his residential property was never given as mortgage to the bank. So that is why the property identification concept is really important for us, right? So having said this, the property identification should be done from its address proof, which is the title document, the ownership document. So what is the address proof? I have already explained to you. The title deed of the property is the only address proof of the property. So how can we identify the property from its title deeds? What should we see in the title deed that helps us in identification in the property? So there are 4 things that are mentioned in a very well prepared, I am repeating, in a very well prepared and a good title deed. There are 4 things that are mentioned. First thing they mention is the property number, the house number, the commercial property number, the industrial property number. For example, the industrial property is D143, located in a focal point area, industrial area of Ludhiana. The property number is mentioned in the title deed, right? So we have the property number, for example, D143. We have the property number. The locality of the property, the street number, and the nearest landmark is also mentioned as a property identification address in a very well prepared title deed. So D43 located in industrial area A, street number 4, near to Ram Mandir. That is a landmark near to the Ram Mandir or opposite of Ram Mandir. This is mentioned in the title deed. So by this we can reach the property, we can identify the area, we can reach the area. So also, besides this, the directions of the property is also mentioned. And what is the directions? For example, this is D143. This is D143 property, and this is the road. This is the road that is 80 feet wide, 80 feet wide road, right? And in the title deed, it will be mentioned that on the north side of the property, in this side, there is D142 property, ठीक है, right? On the north and south. On the south side, there is D141 number property or D144 number property, right? On the west side, suppose it is a west side and it is road on east side. On the west side, there is a vacant plot, right? Or there can be a street on the west side also. So all these directions are mentioned in a very well prepared title deed, that what is on the north side, what is on the east side, what is on the west side, and what is on the south side. Remember, one of these side will have the connected road to the property. There cannot be properties on all the side of the on the directions. So if there are properties on all the directions, then your property will be landlocked. If there are properties in all the directions of this property, then your property will be landlocked. There is no way to approach or reach your property because there is no adjoining road to the property. So whenever you read the directions, one of the directions must be containing the approach road, approach road to the property, and how much wide the road is, right? So the directions are mentioned in a very well prepared title deed. And the last thing is the dimensions. Dimensions is the length and width. How much is the length and width of the property? It is mentioned in the title deed. So when your valuer or a technical persons read all of this and he goes physically at site and measures the property and see the adjoining locations, then he can very well compare the dimensions, actual dimensions at site, and the dimensions mentioned in the title deed. He can compare the directions actual at site and mentioned in the title deed. He will compare the locality, street, and landmark as mentioned in the title deed and as physically found by him at the site. He will compare the property number at site by the board or the location map of the area and actually mentioned in the title deed. He will compare all of these physically at site and will update his remarks in his valuation report, that what he has actually seen at the site. If there is any discrepancy, then he will report it to the bank, right? So these are the four things that clearly helps us to identify what the actual property actually is, where it is actually located, right? So there is one more guidance here for us. Whenever whenever we buy a property, whenever we are buying a property, so as a educated persons, we should ensure that the title deed that we are executing to buy that property, our title deed should contain all of this information. Of course, the city name will also be there. Our title deed should contain all of this information so that the seller is not making that the same identification fraud with us to the buyer. That identification fraud can happen with the buyer also, right? So we should make sure that all of these things are mentioned in the title deed that are made by us, so that the property is properly identified by us. And if in future we decide to take loan on this property, then the bank finds it easily to identify our property and gives us the loan, right? So this is the prime way. This is the prime way to identify the property. And if your property is getting identified by only through title deed, then you should be more than happy, right? But this is not the actual case. Since the properties, especially in India, are very much old, they are not there is no proper record kept of them. The title deeds are not made properly. In some of the title deeds I have seen, practically only the name of the village is mentioned. For example, village Sidhwa, that is only address mentioned in the property. So how can I identify if the only village name is mentioned in the address of the property? There is no direction, no dimension. How will I identify where the actual property is located in the whole village? The village could be spread across in 20 acres of area. How can I identify where my property of 100 square yards is located in those 20 acre area, right? So this is not always the case that you can identify the property from the title deed. but still banks are giving the loan. So how they are giving the loan on such kind of properties which is not properly identified on the title deeds? There is a way. So I have mentioned here, what if the address proof is insufficient? Means what if the title deed is not proper, or maybe the directions are not mentioned in the title deeds, dimensions are not mentioned, or maybe locality is not properly mentioned. But I mean to say, from the title deed you are not able to locate the property. I just mean I just mean this, right? So from the title deed you are not able to locate the property, the address proof is insufficient. Then what is the alternative available? So in such a case, friends, there is only one alternative. In such a case, there is only one alternative. If you are not altogether able to identify the property from the title deed, like only the village name is mentioned or only the area name is mentioned, Shastri Nagar, Ludhiana, you are not able to locate the property in the Shastri Nagar, the address is so vague in the title deed, then the only way to do the identification of the property is by way of any officially released government authorized document. Any official government authorized document is the only accepted way of identifying such properties. Any official document issued by any government department containing the location of the property and actual site plan of the property, actual approach to the property, mentioning proper that if this is D143 property and this is the main market road, then how will you reach the location of the property? If that properly is defined in the government document, then only you can accept that document as the identification proof. So why we accept the government department proof? So that when the case is filed in the court, then we can show to the judge that we have relied on the government issued document for this property, right? So what are these government documents? The main document is the approved map. Government, the town planner approves the map of the property when you build the property. The industrial area, especially in the industrial areas, when we build the property, the map for its location, for its construction is approved by the concerned town planner department. So the approved map issued by them is a very good address proof for us, right? Is a very good identification proof for us. Then there is a Mokka Patwari report that is that is being done in very few states in India, especially in Punjab, Haryana, and one or two other states. This is basically Patwari is basically the cashier of the village. Patwari is basically cashier of the village, and he has record of all the land of the village, right? So when your title deed has mentioned only the area name or the village name, and you don't know where the property is actually located, then you can take the help of Patwari. Then you have to pay a specified government fees to the Patwari. The Patwari goes physically to the site, basis the details mentioned in the title deed, whatever the details are mentioned. He goes physically to the site. He prepares a site plan that this is the area, this is the property, this is the approach road. He properly marks the property on the site that this is the property that is mentioned in the title deed, and he is a government officer. Remember that he is a government officer. He properly signs and stamps the property and gives us the report. That is the Mokka Patwari report. Mokka means on-site Patwari report, that is used as an identification proof by the banks, right? One cannot challenge the Mokka Patwari report in courts, right? So this is again another method of identifying the property. So the government records may not be available in every case. In some of the areas of India, in many areas of India, there is no concept of approved map. So how will you do identification in such properties? If no government is available, then it is purely bank's call whether to accept this property or not. This is their own risk that they are taking. This is a very risky thing. Ideally, we should avoid taking such risks. But if we still want to take such a risk, that we still want to mortgage such property which do not have a proper address in the title deed, which cannot be identified with where any no government document is available for such kind of property, then I have few suggestions for alternative things that are done by the banks to secure themselves as much as possible. All of these things are done combined, jointly. So what are those things? The banks take the electricity bill of the property. If that is a built up property, the electricity bill is taken. Then in the electricity bill, the electricity meter number is mentioned. Electricity meter number is mentioned, address is mentioned in the electricity bill. Then the official bank employee goes physically at site and he do the physical verification of the address mentioned in the electricity bill and the electricity meter number, and he takes the photograph of the electricity meter number physically at site and compares the meter number with the electricity bill, which both of them should tally, and that photograph is attached in the final file document, right? After doing this, the banker, the official employee of the banker, ask the customer to come in front of the property which is proposed by him for mortgage for security. He takes the photograph of the customer in front of the property along standing on his side in front of the property. This is kind of a proof that bank can submit in the court that the customer has shown the bank employee this property for security, and for this the bank takes an affidavit from the property owner stating that the photographs, the details contained in the documents are of the same property which is proposed as a security for this and this loan, so that he cannot deny later on in the court. And the last thing is the site plan signed by the valuer. The valuer who is physically valuing the property, he prepares a site plan, the approach to the property, and signs that this is the property, this is the actual approach road, and this report is then kept in the bank records. So this is the alternative, which is altogether too much risky. Only it is internal call of the bank if they want to take it or not, right? So I think I have explained to you the whole concept of property identification. I hope you have enjoyed the video. I will meet you in the next video. Thank you very much.